Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today's session is titled From Marketing Activities to a Patient Growth Infrastructure and is all about what independent imaging centers are standardizing in their marketing processes in 2026 and beyond. We've had a record number of attendees registering for this session today. So my guess is that everyone joining is probably very much aware that generic marketing doesn't work in radiology. And we're here to unpack very practical, down-to-earth insights into what's really working today. My name is Otilia Komsha, and over the past 5 years at Radiology Marketing Growth Agency, our team has worked with imaging centers to implement marketing systems that drive patient volume and measurable ROI. Now, what this session today is designed to give you, but actually better start with what it will not give you, because my promise today is that this will not be about adding more tools or discussing branding standards or how to get more impressions on TikTok. And I'll stay at the level of how patient volume actually behaves and what changes when your marketing system is working. So patient volume doesn't drop usually because people stop needing imaging or there's no demand. It drops when your presence is not aligned with how patients make their decisions today. And I want to start by being very clear. Digital marketing doesn't replace referrals, but what it does determine is which centers referrals choose when they search for terms like MRI near me or MRI plus CT name in their area, and everyone goes online because we do too, and it determines whether they actually turn into booked patient appointments or they get lost on the way and choose another imaging center. So what this session will give you is a clear way to see why patient volume fluctuates, what are the main growth blockers for imaging centers in terms of visibility, reputation, convenience to refer patients, scheduling appointments, and what a standard patient growth system actually looks like in practice. So I'd like to share that imaging centers in various stages of growth have used this patient growth playbook to reach their next level and scale. And this is not something that we've done just once. And we've actually been doing this over the past 5 years. And I'll just mention a few of our stories. And I'll start with Amy from Reveal Diagnostics in California. They went from fragmented marketing activities managing 4 imaging centers to a predictable way of growing. They were able to add 2 new locations. They implemented a conversion optimized website. We built a HIPAA compliant digital referral forms for their referring physicians, implemented content strategy, SEO, informational videos, and deployed the full Google My Business optimization and reputation management. And they now have a clear path to measure their marketing effort and to grow. Then a single location opened MRI Bala Sinwid in Philadelphia. They didn't have a website at all. And in the first day, in the first hour, actually, when we launched their newly optimized website, they received the first patient self-scheduling appointment in the calendar. So that was very, very nice. And they're growing. They now were able to add an extremity MRI to their suite of imaging equipment. Then in Houston, Edlo Imaging, a multi-location center, needed to increase their patient volume, and they were looking for a way to scale. They were very open to implement direct-to-patient marketing, digital Google campaigns that positioned them for the most important imaging services, CT, MRI, X-rays, and they're now preparing to implement the AI voice solution for the patient calls that fall outside the business hours. And then the last story is Medima Health. They were looking to acquire an imaging center and grow it to a network. And we audited the online presence of their acquisition target. We had to recommend rebranding due to the poor reputation. And then Medima launched a new conversion optimized website featuring a floating call button. They launched targeted paid search campaigns targeting patients in their area with full tracking from click to call to schedule scans, so they have the full view of every dollar spent in marketing and the return it brings. Now we feel that in diagnostic imaging, there are 4 stages of growth and 4 stages of marketing maturity, if you want. The first one is survival, and most imaging centers start here, is when volume is unpredictable, you don't have a website or you have a generic website, a standard one that was built for general health care. Probably your contact form is not HIPAA compliant. And from our experience, the patient review score is usually low, probably below 4. And that causes utilization level to fluctuate from month to month. And most centers start here. Now, the second level is stability, is where results are stable, but you're heavily dependent on a single person or several people. And when stuff changes, then growth suffers. The third level is the level of scale. It's when processes exist but are not yet standardized, and the patient journey is partially documented. There is some automation and some manual work. And the last level, the ultimate level, is the local dominance, is when growth is actually system driven, the patient experience is consistent by design, referring physicians refer online using HIPAA compliant referral forms, and patients, when they get the referral and they look you up online, they find your center in the top positions, ranking locally with high score from reviews above 4.7, 4.8, 4.9. You probably have hundreds or even thousands of reviews in more competitive markets, and patients self-book online after hours, during the weekends, after they leave their work. And maybe there's a solution that books the appointments after the business hours straight into the calendar. So ideally is this level where we have every call recorded, we are able to look at traffic, conversion, and calls received, and fine-tune the processes until we are able to provide the best patient experience and become the imaging provider of choice in that area. Now, I'd like to invite you to think about what stage of growth is your imaging center actually operating in, and what would it take for you to become the imaging provider of choice for the patients, referring physicians, and PI in your area. And I also would like to say that each of these stages require a different approach, a different set of processes, and what got you to a certain stage will not take you to the next one. A few things about us. We are members of the 7-figure agency group, where we get to mastermind with 122 of the best digital marketing agencies. We have quarterly conferences in Miami where we share best practices like AI in marketing, automations, user experience, website conversion, and so on. And something a bit nerdy that made my day a while ago, Google actually ranked us number one for radiology marketing search term because we built a system that works specifically for radiology, not generic healthcare in general. And we believe that in the future, growth will belong to practices that know how to build trust locally. They create the best um, patient journey. They make it easier to refer and to book appointments and use AI not to replace the human connection, but to actually make it easier for patients to interact with them. And um, a little bit about me. After my background is in business strategy, and after I sold my first online business, I worked as an SEO consultant for most of the major humanitarian organizations, and now we get to add value to radiology. And let's get into the new radiology growth system. And I'd like to say that we call it new because the patient journey in radiology has changed. Patients don't simply go where they're sent anymore. They do their research, they compare providers, they read reviews, and expect convenience, the same way we all do from all of our providers, right? So that's why radiology marketing has three interconnected parts nowadays. The first one is patient acquisition, which is all about visibility and trust. Is about making your imaging center visible locally to everyone who's looking for every service, every modality that you provide. Chest MRI, ankle MRI, lung CT scan, X-rays, and so on, and turning this search interest into scheduled scans with a highly converting website that is HIPAA compliant through Google Ads and reputation management. Patient Connect, which is the second dimension, is all about convenience. And it's all about making it very easy for anyone to book by adding a call floating button that follows the visitors online as they scroll, the option to schedule online 24/7, and HIPAA compliant digital form uploads so that the schedule stays full. And the last pillar is the connection or liaison part with referring physicians and PIs in your area. This makes it very, very convenient for them to refer patients with HIPAA compliant referral forms, and is about developing proactive activities to let them know every time you have an event, a new imaging equipment added, and to promote your imaging center as the technology early adapter and the provider of choice in your area. Now, when all of these three parts work together, we are able to track results, we are able to monitor growth, and have a stronger positioning in the market. And I'd like to ask you and to invite you to reflect, where do you feel like you need to work the most? Which is the area in your marketing strategy, in your digital presence, where you feel like you have the highest priority to fix in 2026 and beyond? Now, I'd like to go into the results and what processes increase visibility, build your reputation, and make it really easy to receive referrals and scan bookings. Here's what it looks like when you own all three areas of patient attention: the ads, the maps, and the organic area in Google. Because 15 to 20% of clicks go to the ad area, 30 to 35% to the maps area, and 35 to 50% to the organic area. And let me show you a concrete example of how this works in practice. On this slide, you're looking at one imaging center that went from just 3 patient forms a month on their old website to over 390 patient conversions, patient actions. We focused on high intent Google searches. We added a floating call button to their new website. We enabled self-booking and made sure they didn't miss any inquiries after hours using AI. And the result is what you see in the right. 200 calls from ads, 170 calls from the floating button, and 17 self-booked appointments. And all of this data is captured and tracked month to month and used to improve operations and activity. Question for you: if every patient interaction was visible and tracked, what would these numbers actually look like for your imaging center? We know that visibility improvements always produce a measurable impact. What we see is that organic traffic doubles or even triples within 6 to 12 months. As you can see in this chart, it actually tripled, and it delivers hundreds of qualified patient actions. When you zoom into the data, you can see a 20% increase in phone actions month to month on this slide, and a patient review score of 4.9. Now, reputation is one of my favorite topics because it can actually help you build an asset for your business. It can become a growth engine, and it helps with map rankings in your area. And here's the reality: patients will not trust an imaging center with a review score of 2 stars. So the objective that we have is always to aim for a minimum of 4.7 rating from hundreds of reviews. You can see here this imaging center succeeded in achieving 500 reviews within 6 months from opening, and their overall score was 4.9. And there's only one way to achieve these results, and this is through systems. Review requests using the NFC technology that you can see at the bottom. This is just a plaque that sits in your reception area. And patients don't need to scan, they don't need to open an URL, they just need to tap it and give you a review. When we started working with imaging centers and radiology practices, we ran an extensive analysis of the online presence and discovered that the average review score for diagnostic imaging centers is just 3.9, when the overall score in Google for all the businesses is 4.3. So there's a huge gap and an opportunity for improvement to treat reputation as an asset for your business. And I would like to invite you to consider, if patients compare providers like they compare restaurants or hotels, and they do because so are we, which imaging center in your area will they choose? Is your reputation score reflecting the hard work of your team every day and the quality of the care that you provide? Here's how the process works. So it's just a tap with a phone. And for your staff is really simple. They just need to ask, how was your experience today with us? If the answer is good, would you like to give us a 5-star review? It's just a tap, takes a few seconds, and that's it. And now we are actually in the best position to implement this process, and we have a huge opportunity because AI now lets us scale this process to handle high volumes and to give replies automatically in English and Spanish. And here's the result. More green dots across the map, meaning that for this center in Mountain View, California, their rankings have improved and they are showing up as the trusted option for the local patients that are looking for an imaging center or an MRI provider in their area. The patient journey. Now, the mindset here is designing the patient journey so that we don't track only clicks. They only matter if they turned into booked scans. And what we found is that some imaging centers actually invested in beautifully designed branding and websites, but the path from the first click to an actual appointment is broken, and they're missing opportunities along the way. They're either missing conversion points or there's just too much friction to get to a scheduled appointment. And so the beautiful design is not reflected in the growth of the business. Now, 10 years ago, a typical imaging center website had only one contact us form that was the entire patient journey. And this is still the case today, if I'm being honest, with a lot of the websites that we see. And that contact form is not even HIPAA compliant, but that's another risk for another day. But fast forward to today, patients actually expect to be able to click and schedule 24/7 online, to be able to upload their forms in a secure way, to be able to talk to a real person without reaching the voicemail. Actually, most of them, when they reach the voicemail, they drop, they never leave a message. So every entry point should lead directly to a booked scan. Now, when you implement self-scheduling, patients don't need to wait on hold, and you can see here how it's working. They don't need to fax anything. They can upload the forms online because this form is HIPAA compliant and fully integrated with the calendar. The staff has less scheduling admin work, and they can actually focus all of their attention on patient care. Some imaging centers that are not tracking data actually believe that they're answering most of the calls. But when we look at the data across 24 hours, this is what we find. The numbers tell a different story. This is what we typically see. 35% of calls go to voicemail, 18% are missed calls, and only 46% are answered live. The average voicemail lasts 9 seconds, which is not enough information to be able to give a call back. And most patients simply move on to the next imaging center that picks up. So I'd like to invite you to take a look at one of the most exciting changes we're seeing, which is the use of AI and automation to improve patient access. And here's what Sarah, our smart assistant for radiology access, does. She captures the calls that would go to voicemail after hours. She books appointments directly into the calendar. And we don't use Sarah to replace people. We use Sarah to make sure that no patient is left waiting. And here's how it works. A smart chat widget engages visitors the moment they land on the website, and it answers most common questions like, do you have Saturday appointments? And it doesn't just give information. It moves the patient forward by booking directly into the calendar 24/7, as you can see here on the screen. So let's see Sarah, smart assistant for radiology access, in action. On the next slide, you will hear a live demo call.
Thank you for calling Clearview Diagnostics. We offer hospital-grade imaging at 4 convenient locations. This is Sarah. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sarah. I'm calling about your abdominal CT scan pricing.
Sure thing. A CT abdomen scan is $250. If you need it with contrast, it's $370. Would you like to request a time for your scan?
Actually, I was wondering, do you guys take United Healthcare?
We don't accept United Healthcare, but we offer competitive pricing for out-of-pocket payments and have payment plans available. Would you like more details on these options?
Yes, please.
All right. For self-pay, you pay 25% on the scan day and the remaining 75% in 21 days. Interested in scheduling a scan?
Yeah, I was wondering which of your locations is open on Saturday.
All our locations are open on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Which location would you prefer? San Francisco, Oakland, Fremont, or Mountain View?
San Francisco, please.
Great choice. Our San Francisco location is at 3434 Southwest Freeway, Suite 222. Would you like to go ahead and request a time for your scan?
Actually, one more question. Do I need a doctor's order?
Yes, you'll need a doctor's order for the scan. Do you already have one? If not, you can request it from your doctor, and we can follow up once you have it. Is that okay?
I already have a doctor's order. Do I need to bring it with me?
You can upload a photo of your doctor's order using the secure text link I just sent you. This way, we have it on file before your appointment. Would you like to proceed with scheduling?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Let's get your scan request submitted. What day and time would you prefer?
This Saturday at 11 a.m., if that's available.
I'll put in a request for Saturday at 11 a.m. Could I have your full name and email address to complete the request?
My name is Otilia Komsha, and my email is otilia@gmail.com.
Thanks, Otilia. I've got everything I need. You'll receive a call back from our team to confirm your appointment details. Anything else I can help with?
No, that's all. Thanks very much.
All right. It was great chatting with you. If you need anything else, feel free to reach out. Goodbye and take care.
Bye-bye.
That's impressive, right? She is able to give the full information and books the appointment right into the calendar and provides the most accurate information. So let me close by bringing everything together. What you've seen today is an integrated marketing system, the radiology marketing system. It has 3 interconnected parts. The first one is patient acquisition, is about turning the search interest into scheduled scans using smart websites, SEO, ads, and reputation management. The second pillar is patient connect, is about keeping patients engaged and making it really easy to self-schedule, to receive the reminders, digital forms, so that the schedule stays full. And the last module about physician liaison is about expanding the referral base with structured outreach and HIPAA compliant referral forms. And when these 3 modules work together, we are able to track results, we are able to monitor data and improve processes continuously, 1% better every day. It's the mindset here, so that we are able to deliver a stronger positioning in the market. Now, the next step is simple. If you want to see what this could look like for your imaging center and have a self-assessment, you can download the radiology growth checklist and benchmark your imaging center there. And I look forward to connecting online or in person. I'll see